Welcome to Intuitive Alchemy, where we recode your reality from the inside out. I'm your host, Sydney, trained intuitive, energetic alchemist, and certified hypnotherapist. And this podcast is here for the woman who is done playing small. Here, we go deep into energy, identity, universal law, source truths, and the neuroscience behind what actually creates lasting change. No fluff, no filters, just conversations that shift your frequency and call you back to the most powerful version of you, the one who knows it was always her and it can only be gotten from her. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to Intuitive Alchemy, where we recode reality from the inside out. I am so excited about today's episode because it's something that has greatly changed my life and my understanding of myself, my perception of myself, as well as just given me a really, really clear glimpse into who my soul came here to be and to embody. And my number one goal is always, how can I know myself better? How can I be more me? How can I truly embody my full essence and who my soul and God wanted me to come here and become in this lifetime? So if that is also you, or if you just really kind of are like, I don't really know, I don't feel like I know myself very well. We all start there. So if you're like kind of starting to ask that question, then this is for you. And I'm so excited for you too. So let's get into it. So many of us are on this journey of like healing and evolving and manifesting and learning how to intentionally, we're all always manifesting, but just learning how to intentionally and consciously manifest and create what we desire. And that is so freaking cool and amazing. But sometimes in that pursuit, we forget that we're not here to like become someone else. We are here to really come home to the version of us that our soul chose to be in this lifetime. And so this episode is all about decoding your energetic essence, your soul's blueprint. And I'm going to talk about, there's a lot of different ways to do this, a lot of amazing tools out there that can kind of help explain you to you. But the three of my favorites are human design, astrology, most specifically the North Node placement. What the whole chart is great, but we're going to talk a lot about the North Node, and numerology. And these are tools that I just like come back to again and again, not to put myself in a box and to say, well, this is just how I am. I'm a Cancer, so I'm moody or I'm emotional. It's to help me break out of the boxes that I wasn't really ever meant to be in and embody the highest traits and characteristics that I was meant to embody. So this might be a little bit different than maybe some other people talk about it. Like we're not using astrology here, or I personally don't use astrology to like predict the future or to I'm not consulting what's going on right now currently with the stars or the planets or whatever to know like if it's going to be a good time to sign a contract or to like make a purchase or get into a relationship. Like that's not what we're talking about here. That's a different aspect of astrology that I personally don't identify with at this point. Maybe at some point I will, but no judgment. That's just not what this is about. So let's look at it from a different angle today. And we're going to start with human design. So human design is your energetic strategy for life. And that's what I really love about it. The more that I'm learning about it, it really is like, how can I be most effective? What is my best strategy? How do I communicate the best? And so this is like your soul's instruction manual for how to move, how to decide, how to just like interact with people in the world in a way that's aligned with who you really are. And so I am a projector. I'm a 6'3" splenic projector, which just tells me so much about how I'm meant to show up in the world. So, projector is like, we're here to guide others with wisdom. We're not here to hustle. We are not here to be the initiators. There are other types, which I'll go over the other types briefly, but there are other types that are meant to initiate. Projectors have a really penetrating aura. We see people so incredibly deeply. And I mean, just like immediately, we can see people and like their intentions and all of that. We thrive whenever we are invited and recognized. And that changed everything once I learned that, because I used to kind of like push or force, maybe overextend, and then wonder why I was exhausted, or why like my wisdom or my offerings weren't being like appreciated or received in the way that I knew that they should be, because I knew how valuable they were. But the fact is that the recipients weren't ready to receive it. So, and they didn't ask for it. So I'm just like giving this unsolicited advice basically. Because I'm like, but I can see this so clearly. Like, if you just did this, this, and this, like everything would change for you. And I still struggle with this with people like in my close inner circle, like especially my partner and my parents and whoever else. Like, I still struggle to, when I see things really clearly and I'm like, I have the answer. Why aren't you asking for it? Oh, and my partner Corey is also a projector, but he's an emotional authority and I'm a splenic authority. So we like, it shows up differently. So, so splenic authority, this means that my intuition is instantaneous and it's quiet. Like, it's a subtle, like inner whisper, and it's not logical. Intuition is never logical. It's not emotional. It's just like a nudge. And learning how to trust that has been such a huge part of me just reclaiming my magic and kind of like getting my sparkle back, which I'll talk about in another episode, because your girl lost her sparkle there for a minute, but it's back, and it's coming back more and more every day. Okay. And then the 6'3" profile, everybody has two numbers. It's like one number and then a slash and then a second number. I'm a 6'3", and this is kind of like, I love this part of it. It's juicy. So the 6 line is the role model. They all have like a different archetype. So 6 is the role model. The 3 is the martyr or the experimenter. So the first part of my life, up until about like age 30, which I'm about to turn 32. So up until age 30, it was literally all about trial and error and things not working, things falling apart, falling down, learning the hard way. And boy, did I learn the freaking hard way on some things, okay? Ooh, I got married at age 22. And then I learned 3 months after we got married that he was an addict, and he was not a recovering addict. He was in active addiction with opioids, pain pills, and alcohol as like a secondary. That wasn't his first choice, but he did abuse alcohol as well, especially when he didn't have access to pain pills. So that was shocking. This obviously led to a whole host of challenges, as you can imagine. And ultimately, a few years later, led to me finally choosing myself and leaving the marriage. And this trial and error is literally how I was designed. Now, I've shifted now into the second phase. Thank God. where I start embodying that wisdom that I lived through and I gained from some really challenging, dark times of my life. And now I get to become the embodied example. And I definitely feel like I earned this second phase. My gosh. So excited to be past my Saturn return and all of those really tough lessons and things that felt like just falling apart. So, and maybe unfortunately, I did not know any of this as I was going through these times and these challenges. I didn't know anything about human design. I knew like that I was a Cancer sun sign, but I'd never heard the term human design. I knew my Enneagram, which I'm an Enneagram type 4, if you're familiar with that. And I knew my Myers-Briggs, which I'm an INFJ. So that's all I knew. And those things don't really talk about like they're really, I think, valuable and interesting for like personality stuff, but it's like not, at least from what I understand and what I have felt, it's not as deep and it's more like kind of surface level versus like just really penetrating. So, yeah, so now I know. And looking back, I'm always just like amazed at how accurate it is and how it was always all working for me, which everything is always working for us. Even whenever it's something really hard that you would be like, why would my soul have ever chosen for me to go through this experience? It is all working for you. And I so fully and completely believe that now that I just like literally wouldn't even take it back. Even like I remember the night that I got home from work, it was late. The job that I worked during that time, like I worked long hours on specific days, and I was so tired, got home, like just wanted to eat dinner and like go to bed. And I got home and my ex-husband, something was clearly wrong with him, and like he was emotional, which he really wasn't an emotional person. So I was like, oh my God, like did somebody die? Are you about to tell me that like some really, really bad news? And yes, he was. Nobody had died, but he shared with me that he was an addict, which was like major props to him because most addicts are absolutely not the person that is going to tell on themselves. Their addiction literally depends on the secrecy and the ability to lie and hide. And so like that was just really, really extraordinary that's what he did. Didn't really make it easier for me to like digest that information, but it was, I do want to give him like major props for that. So, anyway, that was a side note, but, if you don't know what your human design is, or if you've never even heard of it until this podcast, there are plenty of different free resources that you can use to find out what your chart is. And so just Google like free human design chart. One of them is mybodygraph.com, graph, GRAPH. And then you'll have to enter your birth data just in the same way that you would with like your astrological birth chart. So I highly encourage you to do that. But I want to go over the other energy types with human design as well. So the other types there's a manifestor, and 9% of the population is a manifestor. They are here to initiate, inform, and start new things. They're here to lead. And so remember how I said projectors, we are not here to initiate. The manifestors, they are here for initiation. And generators, they're 32% of the population. They're here to master creation, sharing, and to respond to the world's energy. Manifesting generator, that's a hybrid between the manifestor and the generator. And they're here to share their energy and respond to the world. Reflectors, the most rare, only 1% of the population is a reflector, which I think is so cool. And now I want to know if I've ever met one before. I don't know if I have, but I just think that's so interesting. They are incredibly open and sensitive, and they mirror the energy of the world around them, hence the name reflector. They are literally reflectors. And then again, projectors. We are 22% of the population. We are guides. We bring efficiency, and we're here to guide others, but we have to wait for the invitation to do so. Otherwise, it will not be received or appreciated. And it could actually be really repelling. Allegedly. Not that I know or anything. I'm just kidding. I totally know. So these designs are energetic guides for how you specifically work best, communicate best, and create best. So when you start honoring your actual energetic strategy instead of overriding it and like trying to kind of make some other kind of energy work for you, things start to click, and then you can start to like have more self-love of like, okay, this works for me. Whenever I adapt to this kind of way of being, I'm at my best. Like, wow, I'm really creative when I'm not hustling. Or if you are like a manifester or a generator or a Manny Gen, like you may be like, no, I am a high energy and I need to be doing a little bit more hustle, which is so cool. It's really cool how we're all different. So that hustle culture for me, being a projector, is actually really detrimental and harmful. And it can lead to like severe nervous system dysregulation and all kinds of other issues. And I'm actually able to get more done in a few hours than most people do in a few days. When I'm inspired and when I'm in flow, like I can crank some stuff out in a matter of a few hours that may take other people a few days, but I also need lots of rest. And so if I didn't understand this about myself, and when I didn't understand this about myself, I would think I was just like lazy or unmotivated. And I wondered why, like, do I not have the same energy levels as some of these other people? Why can I not like go, and that's just not me. Like I need a nap. I need a nap. So, okay, let's move into astrology. This is my favorite. Oh, I love it so much. Your North Node specifically is just like, I cannot stress enough how cool and important understanding your North Node placement is. And I just think it's also one of the least talked about. And I don't understand why people are sleeping on their North Node. It's so informational and educational. Informational. I don't know. That didn't sound right, but we're going to go with it. So valuable. So your North Node in astrology, it's not just another point on your chart. It's literally the direction that your soul chose to grow toward in this lifetime. The energy that your soul chose to embody and become more of to master in this lifetime. It's where your expansion is. It's your purpose of becoming. So it's also, because it's where your expansion is, it's not something that you're necessarily born with, just already it being easy for you. So a lot of times, like the people that I've talked to about their North Node, and then they go look it up and they read it and they're like, ooh, this doesn't come naturally to me. This feels kind of scary and like bold and not something that I really love. Like these things that I'm supposed to apparently, grow toward they don't come naturally and they're challenging to me. And like, yeah, that's the point. That's the point. Your soul chose something that doesn't come naturally to you and that doesn't really feel super familiar to you necessarily, so that you would become that. So my North Node is in Sagittarius, and this means that my soul came here to be a truth teller, a philosopher, a freedom seeker. I am here to expand belief systems, to speak big, bold truths that may be triggering to some people that aren't ready to meet themselves, I guess, at that level. I'm here to explore and to freaking teach. Like, I love teaching so much. And I'm here to stop hiding behind information or a fear of being like quote unquote too much, and instead to trust my inner knowing and boldly share it. And like that feels exciting and expansive, but it also feels really scary. And I still, like, every episode that I release, I'm still kind of like, even though I'm excited to do it and I feel it feels so aligned, and I'm like, yes, I know that this is a something that I'm supposed to do and I'm on the right track and the right path, I still feel kind of scared because I don't know who's going to listen to it. Like, I have no idea if somebody that I used to be really involved in church, and my ex-husband and I were on the worship team at a big church in Oklahoma that we went to, and my parents are still very involved there. Like, I have people from that part of my life that still like follow me on social media and everything, and I would be totally lying if I said that I'm not somewhat working still through a fear of somebody listening and being like, oh my God, Sydney's gone off the deep end. Like, I know that that's not the truth. And I know that I'm more connected and aligned and like more the version of myself that I'm supposed to be than I ever was. But there's that still feels scary. So let that be kind of an inspiration to you that just because something might feel like, ooh, I don't know, doesn't mean that it's not meant for you or that you're not supposed to do it, because like what you're going to learn in the process of that is that's where the magic is, and that's like the whole point that your soul chose it in the first place. So what you know, like once you find out what your north node is, you're also going to know what your south node is, because your north node, so well, okay, let's take it a step back. In astrology, every sign has an opposite sign. So like the opposite sign of Cancer is Capricorn. The opposite sign of Sagittarius is Gemini. Leo and Aquarius are opposite signs. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Hopefully I didn't just tell you wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. So once you know what your north node is, you automatically know what your south node is, because it has to be the opposite of your north node sign. So because I'm a Sagittarius north node, my south node is Gemini. So I could easily stay in like overthinking, just gathering so much information, but not necessarily like taking it and acting on it, which I have been so guilty of. And I still have to catch myself when I'm doing that, because gathering info feels so good to me, because Gemini feels more like home to me even than Sagittarius, because I've lived many lifetimes mastering that Gemini energy, according to that being my south node. And then Gemini also is like very, like they just kind of bounce between idea to idea. Like they're just kind of, like their shadow side is kind of known for being like wishy-washy and just kind of floating around, you know, not really grounding and rooting to anything necessarily. But my soul wants me to move into deeper trust and bigger messages, a higher perspective, and the embodiment of wisdom. And so I want to go back to something I just said about past lives. So basically, according to just kind of everything I've learned about north nodes, is that's what your soul wants you to embody in this lifetime. But then your south node, whatever sign your south node is in, that is going to feel really familiar because you've already mastered that energy. So that would indicate that you have already lived so many lifetimes, like I don't know how many, it's probably different for everyone, but like multiple lifetimes already embodying that energy. So that would mean that I have been Gemini in some form. I don't know if that means that that was my north node or that was my sun sign. Like I have no idea, and I it's irrelevant. I don't need to know that. But that is the energy that I have mastered already, and so now I need to move away from that and move into its opposite of Sagittarius. So I just wanted to touch on that before I went any further. So a few other of the north node examples, like if you have a Leo north node, you are here to shine, to be seen, and to lead from the heart. So that's so exciting. If you have a Pisces North Node, which I'm pretty sure that's what Corey's North Node is. I need to double check that, but I'm pretty sure. Pisces North Node is here to surrender, to trust the unseen, to be intuitive and artistic. Capricorn North Node, here to lead, create structure, master self-responsibility. And Aries North Node is here to own their desires, take bold action, and embody independence. So that's just a few of the others, but definitely you can look this up on your own. Understanding your North Node seriously helps you realize like you're not too much, you're not growing, you're just growing into your cosmic edge, if you will, and it can explain certain challenges and patterns that keep coming up. And so one example of that is, this is so interesting to me. So I read the book Astrology of the Soul by Jan Spiller, which I will link the book in the show notes. It was so, like, I recommend it to everyone. I've lent this book to multiple people. I even bought this book for someone. I just like, I need you all to read this book. And you don't even have to read the whole book. You just have to read like the chapter of your North Node, which is like 30 pages. So like you can do it. Okay, so I was reading the Sagittarius portion, which of course talks about the Sag North Node and the Gemini South Node, because she's talking about this is the energy you want to move into and this is the energy that you want to move out of. And so she was talking about how, like, previously, whenever I was more in that Gemini energy, one of the shadow sides or one of the tendencies of Gemini is to kind of be like really gossipy and to just kind of be spreading information that's like not of the highest good or like not of the light. And I thought that was so interesting because she said, you'll notice if your North Node is in Sagittarius that like there's certain things that you just will not be able to get away with. And gossiping is one of those things. And so I'm thinking back when I'm reading this, I'm thinking back and I'm like, yeah, that's so true, because I actually have never been a gossipy person. I've never like preferred that. And even my mom has said like multiple times, like, you were just never the kind of kid that like was just always talking about other people or like the other girls at school, or you just never did that. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't. Like, I don't know that I consciously realized it, but yeah, I didn't. And I still really don't like to. Like, I think my friends know that I'm not the person that you come and tell if you just like want to talk shit about somebody, or, you know, like, I'm not saying I never do it or I've never done it, but like, it's boring to me. I don't like it. I don't prefer it. It's not productive. I'm the person that if you text me and you're like, oh my God, guess what, so-and-so, I'm probably like, oh, that's interesting. Like, well, you know, I wish them well, or that, I guess that's just a lesson that like their soul needed to learn in this lifetime. Like, I'm that person. So I'm not really kind of like the most fun person to gossip with. And I like also am not unhappy about that. Like, I think that's a good thing. But what I remember from when I was in school, like as a kid, is, you know, obviously like that's the most gossipy time ever when you're in like middle school, junior high, whatever. And I like have specific memories of when I would be in a group of people that were talking about someone or something, like gossiping or talking bad about someone, and I wouldn't even be the one doing it. Like, I would just be there, I would exist there, and then I would be the one to get like called out for it later, or somebody would confront me about it. I'm like, I wasn't even the one doing it, I was just there. But that just was so interesting to me, because it was like that was the reflection that she was talking about, of like, you're just not going to be able to get away with that in this lifetime. You will not be able to gossip or really even be in the presence of other people gossiping because of your Sagittarius North Node. So I just thought that was so like, wow. Wow. Okay. So Astrology of the Soul book, get it on Amazon. I will link it in the show notes. And a quick word on sun, moon, and rising signs, because that's what most of us are a little bit more familiar with. So the sun sign is pretty much like your core identity, your sense of self, how you move through the world. Most people consider this as like your dominant personality. The moon sign, which mine is Cancer, the moon sign is your emotions, your subconscious needs, and how you receive and process those emotions. So it's your inner self. It's not really something that everybody else sees unless they're really close to you. And this, once I learned more about this, because my moon sign is Sagittarius, which is obviously the same as my North Node, but so I'm a Cancer sun, like I mentioned, and Cancer is always known for like being the sensitive, moody, emotional type, and I have never really identified with that, which makes sense now that I know this, because my moon sign is Sagittarius, and Sag is not really known to be an emotional sign. It's very independent and like philosophical, which I much more resonate with. So I love that. I love understanding things like that and understanding myself better. And then the rising sign, this describes your outward persona, often described as the first impression that other people have of you. It's like how you present yourself to the world. And this one is so cool because even if you don't totally resonate with everything about the characteristics of your rising sign, which you probably won't, if you look into it, you will find some things. Like, for instance, I'm an Aquarius rising, which is Aquarius is like all about bold choices, bold looks, forward thinking. They're kind of known as like the aliens on Earth. And I had no idea what my rising sign was when I got my pixie cut like 12 years ago. But now, knowing what I know, it makes so much sense of why I was drawn to a look like this, because a pixie is like the most Aquarius haircut ever. Because it challenges like the status quo, and it challenges what most people quote unquote expect a woman to look like, or the kind of haircut that they would expect a woman to have. So just thought that was so cool. And then, okay, let's move into numerology. This is like your soul's frequency. So this is the one, I'm the newest to learning about numerology. I am by far not an expert. I'm not an expert on any of this, by the way. I should have prefaced by saying that, but like I'm the least amount of expert about numerology. I only just started learning about it in January of this year, 2025. I listened to a podcast with Caitlin Carehart, and she's a numerologist, and it just made a lot of sense, like what she was saying. And so I ended up like going on her website and downloading my life chart, and also downloaded one of her yearly planners from her website. And so numerology is the vibration of your birth date and your name, and it gives insight into your life path, like which is the overall energetic current that you kind of like came here to surf, if you will. So you calculate your life path number by adding the digits of your birth date together until you reduce it down to a single number, unless it equals 11, 22, or 33, and then you would keep it. I'm not going to get into that, actually. Never mind. I'm not an expert, so I'm not going to be the one to explain to you like how to calculate it or when to reduce it or when not to reduce it. Go get your chart for free online, or like chat GPT it, because that will just like be so much less confusing. I don't want to mess it up and tell you the wrong thing, which is very likely to happen specifically on this topic. So some life path numbers, just some examples of like themes for you. If your life path number is any of these that I'm going to name, life path 1 is the leader. They're bold, independent, pioneering. Life path 3 is the communicator, creative, expressive, magnetic. Life path 4, that's what I am, practical, reliable, focused on building a stable foundation. Life path 6 is the nurturer, harmonizer, the healer, very family oriented. And then life path 9 is the old soul, the humanitarian. They're very wise and deeply emotional. So what was even for me personally more interesting than learning about the life path number itself was about the personal year numbers. So we are all always going through 9-year cycles in numerology, and each year signifies a different theme. So I started learning about this, like I said, in January, so like 5 months ago, when I had just begun 2025 for me is a year 9. So I had just begun my year 9. So that's the end of a 9-year cycle. So year 9s signify endings, death before rebirth, because year 1 is all about rebirth and new beginnings, completion, and just preparing for that new beginning that's about to come with the year 1. So once I learned about the themes of each of the years, every freaking thing started to make sense. So I was like, just going back, I'm like, okay, so 3 years ago I was in a year 6 and da 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 da. So I'm like going back through my memory and I'm like, oh my gosh, there is really something to this. So like year 7s are all about introspection and spiritual growth and retreating to like your inner world to evolve. And my last year 7, I was doing literally exactly that the whole year. I had no idea about any of this, but that's the theme. That was the theme. And then on my last year 5, I was having the time of my life and I was traveling a lot. I was in love. Like it was great. On my last year 6, which is all about balance and relationships, I got a divorce. So that, your relationships doesn't always mean a relationship is starting. It could mean that a relationship is ending if it needed to end. And it did need to end. And I even debated on sharing this, but so I looked back to 2016, which was the year that I got married. And as it turns out, that was my last year 9. So I actually got married in a year 9. So in that case, it would have been like the death of my singlehood. And then in this year 9, just 2 weeks into January of this year, my ex-husband unfortunately passed away unexpectedly. And so that like completely, I had just learned about this stuff right before that happened. And I got that call, which was not an easy call to receive. Because even though, obviously I didn't want to be married anymore to him, we still kept in touch and I still like have a lot of love for him. So not only had the relationship already ended, the whole entire cycle ended, as well as his time on earth. And that just like actually shook me to my core. I'm just like, oh my God, 2 weeks into my year 9 and he dies. And 9 years ago, it was just crazy. It was all crazy. So highly encourage you to look into that. And again, I will link the Caitlin Carehart's website. I'm sure that there are other amazing people as well who do the same kind of thing, but I just really liked how she explained things and talked about things. So if you're interested in getting something more than like just the free stuff that you can find, I totally recommend her paid life path charts and the planners. Okay, so all of these tools, human design, astrology, numerology, they are mirrors. They don't tell you anything that you don't already know at a soul level. And they're not here to just like give you excuses to live more in the shadow aspects of whatever energy type or astrological sign. So again, I said this, I think, in the beginning of the episode, but this is not an excuse to be like, well, I'm a Gemini, so I'm just going to be really flighty and I'm just like going to be non-committal and never kind of like fully root into anything, just kind of bounce around from thing to thing, person to person. Or I'm an Aries, so I'm a hothead and I have a temper and that's just who I am. Like, no, 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 no. That is not what we're doing here. I would absolutely never recommend that ever, 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 because every sign, every energy type in human design, every uh, numer- numerological path has a light side and a shadow side. And so we obviously want to go more into the light, of course. So you were never meant to play small. You did not come here to forget your light or to not become who your soul wanted to come here to become. You are here to fully, fully, fully shine that light. And these are just tools that help you to really understand that and root to that so that you can do that. So these systems, like, they remind you that you are intentional. You are magic. You are literally divinity in form. And each of us is so incredibly unique and special. God and your soul chose every single little thing about you. They chose every single little thing about you. And they chose the exact minute that you would be born very intentionally so that you would have the exact energetic makeup that you do. Like, it wasn't an accident that you have the exact astrological birth chart and human design and like numerology chart that you have. All of that was so intentional. And I think like that's where sometimes people, like, even like within Christianity, I like grew up in that, and a lot of times tools like astrology and everything are kind of viewed as maybe not demonic, but like just not of God. And I just like could not disagree with that more, because like once you understand really the purpose of it and not to use it as like an idol or to be like, well, my birth chart says I'm supposed to be like this, so I'm going to be like this. Like, no, no, no. It just explains who you really came to be, like who God and your soul like wanted to be in this lifetime. Okay, there's a car alarm going off. So hopefully you can't hear that, but if you can, I'm sorry. Okay, it's over. False alarm. All right. So here is what I would suggest for you to do as your homework this week is to look up what is your human design chart, your north node, and your life path number. And specifically, in addition to your life path number, like what is your year? What year number are you in? And then if you want to take it even a step further, maybe you want to journal on these following questions. So maybe you want to pause this and or like open your notes app and write these down so that you can journal on them later whenever you have time. So first question, what parts of myself feel like home when I read these things? When you read about your human design profile, your north node and your south node, and your life path information. What parts of myself feel like home when I read these? And then second question, what have I been resisting that's actually part of my design? What parts of you have you been pushing down, repressing, trying to change because, it doesn't look like what you think it should look like, or it doesn't look like your parents or your brother, your sister, your partner, your friends, whatever? What part of you are you not fully embodying because you think it's wrong or not as good? And then the third question, how would I treat myself if I truly believed I came here for a reason and that every part of me was chosen for a perfect reason? How would you treat yourself? So those are the 3 questions. And that can be just a little ritual that you do to kind of come back to yourself, fall more in love with yourself. And if you really are like, ooh, I like this information. I like all of this about self-love and like learning about who I came here to be, I have a free resource called Your Ultimate Guide to Embodying Your Higher Self. If you want to go deeper, that is free, and I will link it in the show notes. It's like 28 pages or something, and it really just like takes you through connecting with your higher self, like imagining the version of yourself that you like, the highest version of yourself, how to actually like bridge the gap between where you are now and that. And a huge piece of that for me has been learning about my North Node, my human design, and the numerology. So that I will link it in the show notes if you want to snag that for free. And then you can always, of course, book a reality recode with me as well via the same link that I'm going to share in the show notes. It's also linked in my Instagram bio. And this is if you just like really want to get crystal clarity from your higher self on the exact next steps that you need to take to step more into the version of you that you came here to be and to attract the things, people, experiences that you came here to have and be and do. Okay, and then remember to leave a written 5-star review and take a screenshot before you submit it. DM me that screenshot on Instagram at Intuitively Sydney if you want to be entered into the monthly giveaway of a mini reality recode where you can get answers and higher self guidance on 2 areas or questions of your choosing. All right. That's all for today. I hope that this episode served you, and I really hope that it sparked something in you to just like fall more in love with yourself, because I promise you, like, that's the root of everything. Your self-image, your self-perception, your self-concept, your self-love, those are the roots of literally everything. So thank you so much for listening, and I will talk to you next Tuesday. If this episode sparked something in you, share it with a friend who needs it. Take a screenshot, post it to your Instagram story, and tag me at Intuitively Sydney. That's SIDNEY. I would love, love, love to see who's tuning in so I can connect with you and celebrate you. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next Tuesday.